Hello, this is the video for Exchange 2003. We'll take a look at client configuration, agent installation, and we'll also kick off a backup job. You can see right here I already have an Exchange 2003 client defined in my client list. That part should be pretty familiar to you by now, but I want to take a moment and point out the file set on an Exchange backup. Particularly with Exchange 2003, you do not need to have VSS enabled, nor do you even need a file set. You can leave this totally blank, so by default this might be your C drive. You can just delete that and have nothing there. It is the Exchange plugin that gets installed that manages what gets backed up as far as an Exchange Mailbox backup or an Exchange database backup. So let's take a look at that installer. Okay, so I come to the Client Software tab and I download the appropriate software version. And then I'll just go ahead and click to run. And you'll have to accept the various license agreement. Here's the important part for Exchange 2003. You'll want to make sure that both of these plugin options are checked. This will ensure that you get an Exchange database backup and as well as the Exchange mailbox level backup. So when this pops up, you'll want to make sure that you're running as a user account that has the correct permissions. You might be able to use administrator, for example, or create a different user account entirely. You would basically need to run as a user that has a mailbox and also would have the correct permissions to be able to back up the other mailboxes. By default, our system runs as the our agent runs as a local system account, and that account will not have permission to run the backups. So we'll make this quick change here. You see it added in my domain name automatically for me. One thing you'll have to configure that is probably already configured in this example. By default, this option is selected. Unless you're joined to your Active Directory and this lookup is working for you, you'll want to just manually run this. This is already done, but hopefully you're familiar with running the wizard to download the configuration file. What I want to highlight, though, is the Exchange Database Backup tab and the Exchange Mailbox Backup tab. You can see that they're both enabled by default upon installation. Here on the Database tab, there are a few other options. If you had databases scattered around on multiple Exchange servers, you might check this option to only back up databases that are local to this server. There's also a truncation option. We throw a little warning up. We want you to be very sure of what you're doing when truncating the logs. By default, our Exchange agent only truncates logs after a full backup. If you really know what you're doing and want to truncate after an incremental or a differential, you'll have that option by checking that box. And this other one would come into play if you needed to restore to an alternate database or an alternate server. Under Exchange Mailbox Backup, you can see we've got our mailbox store listed here. If you had multiple stores, they should all show up in this list. If I click on the mailbox store, it's going to look a little flashy down here, but this is generating a big list of all of the users or all of the mailbox accounts that belong to this store. So it's kind of a good way to know that at least my agent can recognize all of my users. At the bottom, there's a few other options. You can restrict what you're backing up. Say you don't want to back up all of your emails from years and years ago. You could just say back up everything within the last 6 months. If I did that, then all of my messages that were generated or forwarded or whatever within the last 6 months, that's all that I would get in my backup. Can be a time saver also, as well as a space saver. But it's kind of up to you. Go ahead and click on OK, and that should go away. If I come back to my client summary, we just saw that exchange. I got my check mark here, so I should be able to go ahead and run a manual backup. If you go to the server active jobs, you should be familiar with this. To see a running job, you can right click here and look at the client properties and get a little bit of details about your backup. But in just a moment, we'll start to see even more details there. I can get to that same client properties if I right click right here. And before I do that, though, you'll see that it takes just a moment, but some status does pop up. So if I look at that same properties window again, we can now see that my Exchange Mailbox backup is running. Down here it shows Exchange MBX backup. It's currently backing up the system mailbox. And now it's just changed to Scott's mailbox. So that'll kind of loop through, and if you watch it, you'll see various Exchange subjects pop in through here. So that's one way to know right off the bat that your Exchange Mailbox level backup is working. The database level backup will actually happen at the end of the backup. So now in this example, I happen to know that my Mailbox backup is going to be a pretty large backup, and I have some previous jobs. Let me just filter real quick here. So I do have a set of jobs previously. I'm going to use these as examples for how to do restores. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel this current job just because it'll take over half an hour and you don't want to watch a video that long. So we're going to go over to our jobs history again, and I'll go down and find this last full backup, and we'll show you what to look for. If I just do the browse and restore option, you can see we've got our Exchange backup is included as a directory under the top level here of computer, and inside of Exchange I have the ESE backup, which is Exchange's database, the full database backup, and have the MBX backup, which is what we call our mailbox level backup. So to finish off this video, I'll show you a quick and simple example of a mailbox restore, or rather a single message restore, and then I'll put up another video showing the actual database restore using a recovery storage group. So I clicked on this MBX backup, and that expanded. You can see, again, here's my various users. But for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and look at administrator. We want to go into top of information store, and that's where you see the various boxes or calendar items and things. We're just going to look in my inbox, and so here's a test. Real quick, I'll just pick this one. It says administrator testing 3.302, so that's an old email, and to show that it's working, I'll find that email right here. Get back to my inbox. So there's the email I want. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Now it's gone. I'll go back over here, and we see it. I've got that selected. I'm going to go ahead and hit restore, which is kind of hiding. I just need to adjust the view here. I've got my recording window is fairly small, so I'll go ahead and hit restore now. It says please wait. Okay, the job has been submitted, and that would go away. If I stay here on the job history page and scroll back up to the top and give it a refresh, I see my Exchange restore completed. This is the job we had started earlier but then canceled. And now I'm going to go back to my Outlook. If I do just a simple send and receive, just kind of refresh things, my email message came back. So that's how we handle Exchange backups, and that's what a restore of a single message looks like under the MBX backup. So look for the next video on restoring an Exchange data.